Hello and welcome to ARIRANG News Break. I'm Han-daeun in Seoul. We begin with North Korea. Pyongyang's Foreign Minister Lee Soo-yong has vowed that North Korea will counter U.S. nuclear threats with its own nuclear weapons. He also slammed the United States, saying it was plotting to launch a nuclear attack on his country. Park Jong-ong starts us off.
North Korea has unleashed more hostile rhetoric against the United States. Speaking in New York on Thursday, the regime's top diplomat Lee Soo-yong slammed the U.S. for conducting what he calls nuclear war exercises to attack the North, apparently referring to the annual military drills between the U.S. and South Korea. As a consequence, Lee said his country developing nuclear weapons was inevitable in order to counter the nuclear threat posed by the U.S. The minister made the remarks during a keynote speech at a high-level meeting of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals at the UN headquarters. Lee claimed Pyongyang tried to have dialogue and made efforts through international law to remove the nuclear threat, but he said it was to no avail. He added North Korea will make sure the U.S. pays the price for hampering the North's sustainable development and urged Washington to immediately end its, quote, hostile policy toward Pyongyang. He also had some harsh words for the United Nations. He strongly protested the UN Security Council sanctions against the North, saying they are a challenge to the country's sustainable development. He vowed that North Korea will never give in to the sanctions. North Korea's foreign minister is in New York for the signing of a historic UN climate agreement set for Friday, local time. Park Jong-hong, ARIRANG News.
North Korea says it will not give in to sanctions, but sanction talks continue. South Korea's top nuclear chief Kim Hong-yoon and his Chinese counterpart Woo Da-wei will meet for bilateral talks in Beijing this afternoon. Before setting off, Kim told Seoul-based Yonhap news agency how important it is to closely communicate with Beijing at a time like this, when North Korea attempted to test fire a mid-range ballistic missile last week, ignoring UN Security Council's resolutions against the regime. As Pyongyang's provocative acts continue, implementation of sanctions is expected to be the top agenda during the talks. The meeting comes just a day after Woo's one-on-one with Washington's six-party talks representative Sung Kim. They expressed their strong common opposition against Pyongyang's irresponsible acts, as well as concerns of a possible fifth nuclear test. A passenger train derailed and partially flipped over in Korea's southern Jeollanam-do province early Friday morning, killing one engineer and injuring 8 passengers. The Mugunghwa train was headed to the southern port city of Yeosu from Seoul. Authorities say the train, carrying 27 people, derailed at around 3:40 a.m. local time. It appears the train collided with an unidentified object on the tracks some 200 meters before reaching its next station of Yulchon. The Korea Railroad Corporation says it has suspended all train operations between Suncheon Station and Yeosu Expo Station. Recovery work is expected to take up to 20 hours. The head of Korea's central bank has vowed to lay out measures to counteract financial instability that could be caused by corporate restructuring. Lee Ju-yeol made the remark during a meeting with the leaders of Korea's commercial banks on this morning. Voicing concerns over a possible decline in the bank's profitability, he said the government's push for restructuring could aggravate the situation. The BOK chief did say, though, that the banks will be able to overcome such difficulties as they've built the capacity to absorb losses. These comments came as the government, the ruling party, and the opposition parties prepare to form a consultative body to support corporate restructuring. Volkswagen has reached a deal with U.S. authorities on the emission scandal on its diesel cars. It has offered to buy back or fix almost 500,000 cars that violated emission standards. The German car maker could also spend about $1 billion to compensate owners of the affected vehicles, according to the Associated Press. The settlement was reached in principle with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and while specific details were not made available, the final final agreement deadline was set for June 21st. In a hearing in San Francisco on Thursday, the judge welcomed the plan. He said the deal included substantial compensation for the owners of cars fitted with emissions cheating software. The world of pop is mourning again after the death of American music legend Prince. The 57-year-old, famous for songs like Purple Rain and When Doves Cry, passed away at his home in Minnesota. It comes days after reports that he was rushed to hospital after his plane made an emergency landing. He was said to be suffering from a flu. An investigation has been launched to find the exact cause of his death. Tributes and messages of condolences have been flooding in from around the world. Madonna, who worked with Prince for many years and was a close friend, said she was devastated and the world had lost a true visionary. U.S. President Barack Obama said Prince was a creative icon and one of the most gifted and prolific musicians of our time. And that does it for now. Stick around for more news updates coming up at noon.